Sairam, Greg.
Sairam.
Thank you for this opportunity. Would like to thank you and Region 8 for having me. And it's such a joy to be speaking about Swami today. So Swami says, the Lord can be understood only if you approach him, develop attachment for him, have faith in him, and maintain unwavering loyalty to him. He is understood only when you feel that you are but the instrument, that he wills every little movement everywhere. Swami also says, no devotee should allow his faith in God to weaken under any circumstances. You will achieve victory by facing any adverse circumstance with faith in God. Foster intense faith in God. All other beliefs are of no avail. So Swami is saying strength and courage come from having faith that God is always with us.
Yes, indeed, he always is. Now, with all of us Baba devotees, there's always some sort of catalyst or something that sparks that beginning, that connection. What was it that brought you to Sai Baba in the first place?
Well, I have to say it was my mother. My mother introduced me to Swami. When I was about 16 years old, my mother and my father both sent us, myself and my siblings, to California for about 6 weeks for summer vacation. And we go there, we spend some time with my uncle and aunt, and then we come back to London. And then there in our altar was a picture of Swami. And then my mother was doing puja every single day. And that's how Swami's picture and Swami's presence entered my life. My mother absolutely loves to sing. Even now, enjoys devotional songs and bhajans. And so Swami kind of roped her into him through the passion that she had. And so my mother and father then onwards started having bhajans at home. And my siblings and I were the little helpers who would have to set up the altar, set up the sheets. And so we participated in that way. So that's how I was really exposed to Swami. But, I do have to say, I really thought that Swami was a great role model and a great guru. But I didn't necessarily think of him as God. And so, thinking back to what I know now, I realized that he was always with me, but I wasn't aware of it. He was watching over me, patiently waiting, silently guiding and protecting. It was like Swami was standing right there in front of me, and I just did not see him. I was looking beyond him, over him, around him, but I just did not see him. But he was always there with me. So it was my mother who started me off in this journey.
But what I find about your story actually that's so impressive is that you had that sort of initial knowledge, but without ever going to India and doing some of the things that so many of us have done, you've actually developed your own personal relationship with God, with Swami. How did you do that? How did that all come about?
That's a very, very interesting story. That experience that brought me to Swami was the first time I realized that Swami knows everything. And the catalyst that brought me to Swami has two words, which is study circle.
Yeah.
Magical place where it just brings you and Swami together. So my family and I attended Sathya Sai Center of South Bethesda in Maryland. And we would actually go just for bhajans, sit right at the back, and then really go home. So that was our interaction with the center for a good part of many years. And then children were born. And in 2010, my son was 6 years old. And we realized that, we should send him to SSE to learn values, learn about Swami in terms of his teachings. And so it worked out well. He started SSE, but the thing was you had to have one parent inside the building. So what would I do? I would be in the building, but I would be in the hallway, find a little table, and I would start grading my papers. So I teach at a community college. So I would grade my papers, and it worked very well. September, October, November, I would just grade my papers. Sometime later, really late in that year, 2010, the SSC coordinator there very kindly came and said, you know, the school is not allowing anybody to sit in the hallway. They don't want people in the hallway. Can you go in the devotion hall? I had nowhere to go, so I had to go inside the devotion hall. So I went to the devotion hall, which is where the study circle would be happening. But what did I do? I sat really at the back, found a table, and I sat there and I started grading again. Swami knows. So then he said what Swami does is through the devotees, through the officers at South Bethesda, they switch the lights off at the back of the hall. Either because they thought I was being disruptive, which is probably true, or they thought that, you know, the light at the back was disrupting the study circle. So then I couldn't grade at the back, and I had no choice but to go and join the study circle. So in January of 2011 is the first time I actually started attending the study circle, which is actually, if you think about it, it's exactly 10 years ago from this month. And so 2011, I attended my first study circle, and in there, the topic was Namasmarana. Like, okay, what is Namasmarana? And they were discussing what Namasmarana would be, how to apply it. Why is it that we don't remember Swami while we are at work? And that was the discussion. Everybody gave their feedback. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to work this week, and I'm going to remember Swami. I'm going to try and say my Namasmaranam. I'm going to remember Swami at work. So that particular week, I was driving I remember this very vividly. I was in my car and I was driving to work. And I said, I'm going to remember Swami today at work. So I go to work, I prep my classes, teach, spend some time with the colleagues. And then on my way back, I would realize, wait a minute, I did not think of Swami once, or any God for that matter. So then the next day I would try again, did not think of Swami. So I remember one day that week on my drive back, I said, why is it, Swami, that I cannot remember you? It was just a passing thought in my head, but I was very aware that I wasn't able to remember him at work. That Sunday, the topic at the study circle was work is worship. You would not believe it. I just could not believe that work is worship. I mean, how did Swami know I'm struggling with the fact that I need to remember him at work. So in that topic, they were saying, while you're so intensely focused on work, there is a chance that you will not remember Swami. I was like, wait, Swami, tell them that? I'm thinking this. So anyway, so they said that we want to remember Swami, but what we can do is offer the act to Swami. So before you start an act or go to work, say, Swami, I offer this work to you. I'm going to stay focused on work. I may not remember you, but when I come back, I will thank you for being with me. I thought, you know what? I can do that. I can try that. So that's what I did. That particular week on my drive, I said, Swami, I may not remember you, but I offer the work that I'm about to do for you. When I come back, I'll thank you. And I was able to do that, actually. I was actually successful. I remember thinking, I remembered to thank Swami at the end of my work. And then the following week, the topic was continuing on the work theme, how to actually remember Swami at work. And they were giving these practical tips. It was so useful. Study circle with practical tips is just unbelievably useful. So the topic, the thing that they were suggesting was maybe use the phone to put an alarm while you're at work at a time you think you might have a downtime. And that would be a reminder for you to say Gayatri, for instance. I thought I could do that. So then I put an alarm for the time I thought I would arrive, that lunchtime, my expected lunchtime, my alarm would ring that week. I would say my Gayatri, and I was like, thank you, Swami. I actually get to remember you at work. I don't actually remember, but there's some tools that I use to help me remember Swami at work. And so that's how it really started. It really was study circle that really, really pulled me into connecting with Swami and understanding that there is this invisible string that is Swami. He's pulling at times. He's always with us. right? But then sometimes he pulls the string very slowly, very gently, and then at some point he just yanks it. And you just have to have this wake-up call. And then for me, that study circle was that wake-up call. And going forward, I mean, the last 10 years, study circle has been really the instrument by which most of my introspection would happen. Either I would get answers to my questions through study circle, or I would want to pick up something that was discussed in the study circle to put into practice. So yeah, the invisible string is, it is the power, it's right there. And Swami also says that there is no need to pray for gifts from God. God will give of his own accord what is good for any devotee. Did not Shabari and Jatayu get the grace of Rama even without their asking for it? God will decide what to give, when to give, and where. Hence, all action should be dedicated to God, and he should decide what the devotee is fit to receive. When everything is left to God, out of pure love and total faith, God will take care of the devotee. So that's what I believe is what's happening to me. Saida.
Yeah, that's actually a very important quote, isn't it? And in the quote that you just mentioned, there's a key part where Baba says, there's no need to pray for gifts from God. God will give of his own accord what is good for any devotee. In fact, God will decide what to give, when to give, and where. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that in terms of your experience?
Yes, so that particular year, 2011, is when the study circle initiation happened for me. The September of that year, my daughter would have turned 4 years old, and South Bethesda did not have a story group. But we heard that Sathya Sai Center of Fairfax would have story group. So we thought for 1 year, because we were very happy at Bethesda. So we thought for 1 year, we'll go to Sathya Sai Center of Fairfax, and there our youngest daughter can also be engaged, listening to Swami's glories, stories, and just participate with other children of her age. And so that was what our plan was. So that academic year, we decided to move to Fairfax. Fairfax was pretty close to us, just as Bethesda was. But up until that point, we didn't know that Sathya Sai Center of Fairfax existed. So we started we joined the Sathya Sai Center of Fairfax on the September of 2011. We started participating a little bit more actively at the center because it was a smaller center. We kind of got to know the people more closely and started helping out with all activities, all aspects of the center activities, and participated in the study circle. You wouldn't believe 3 months of us stepping into Sathya Sai Center of Fairfax, the selection committee calls me and says, would you be the devotion coordinator for the center? Wait a second, what does that even mean, right? But they were so kind. They said, we will support you, officers will support you, the entire center will support you, we will work with you. And that's how my journey started as an officer. So I was given, Swami gave me the role of the devotion coordinator, and the center officers grew together, learned from each other, this solid support system that we had. And, we think we are making the moves. We went to the Sathya Sai Center of Fairfax thinking there's something that we can get in terms of worldly things, children will get this SSE. It's all about getting. But Swami had this invisible string. He had bigger picture. He sees the bigger picture. And for some reason, he saw something in me that he thought I can handle this. And so, and that's really the story of my life. He thinks I can handle way more than I think I really can. And that's really the story for most people. So that's how I got this invisible string, and Swami knows what to give, when to give, and how to give, and the timing and the circumstances that's put together for him to be able to give. So you just need to have this open mind, open arms to receive and recognize what he's giving, and have the faith that if he gives you something, he's going to take you through it, and he will be there every step of the way. And so that's where the faith comes in.
Yes, yes, it does. It's really quite an interesting phenomenon to see it grow and to experience it oneself. It really, the more we participate in these things, the more our relationship grows, the more our relationship grows with God. And we begin to build our faith and begin to hand over more and more of our lives to God for Him to take care of and for Him to manage. And with that in mind, do you feel at this point Baba's presence with you on a daily basis, or do you feel like that he's there, sort of present in things, and that he listens to your prayers when you pray? Have you experienced that?
At this present moment, I'm convinced. I know he is listening to our prayers and he's there with us every step of the way. But to get to this point, he had given me a bit of an experience that I would like to share. So it was May of 2016. I remember this because it was the time when my father-in-law was nearing his end of his journey and physical journey in this life. So during the time of my father-in-law's passing, his family and my family, his children and everybody, we all gathered together and we would say prayers, we would chant together, we would meditate together, and just collectively sent positive vibes and energy at that time. And during that time, I picked up, because of the meditations that we were all attempting to do, I picked up this Abhishekam, to do Abhishekam in my mind. I know to do an Abhishekam, you have to go and pick up, you have to have all the items ready. You got to get the milk, you got to get the water, you got to get things to wipe with. You set up everything, you do the Abhishekam, then you go and clean up. All of that is physically involved. But I thought, I will do it in my mind. And so I would imagine Swami. This is what I would do in my mind every time I say, from that moment when I sit. I would imagine Swami seated on his throne. I would go to his feet and I will take one of his foot and I would pour warm water on one of his foot. And then the other one, I'll also do the same. Then I'll put warm milk for as Abhishekam. Then I will wash both his feet with water again. I'll wipe. And then I would pick up his feet and I will change the footstool, because the footstool in my mind is waterproof. Now I wanted to put his feet on a nice cushioned-based footstool. So I would change the footstool and then I would start doing puja to it. And then so I would put flowers. And the thing about doing this Abhishekam in your mind is that you can have as many types of flowers as you want, as much variety, the quantity. The production there's no limit to it. So I would just create these beautiful flowers and I'd put it around his feet and thoroughly enjoy it. And during the time, I would put the Ashtotram, 108 names. And that's 7 minutes long on the audio. So that's the first time I would actually sit for more than 10 minutes. And that's when I started sitting more regularly, because I had to do this Abhishekam for Swami. And after the Ashtotram is over, I would do a small arti. And then that would be the end of my silent sitting, right? So that was in May of 2016. So then what happened was 2 or 3 months, I kept on doing this regularly. And then August or September of 2016, I had a dream. Right? In that dream, it's an elaborate dream. If you don't mind, I just want to spend time to kind of go over the dream, because it had multiple layers to it. In that dream, I'm walking into this really large land with 2 buildings. And the first building was like a majestic home. It's somewhat cottage-like, but yet it had tall ceilings, very elegant home. I walked into the home, inside the hall, and there's just like large open space, very high ceiling. And then when I go around and explore inside the building, on every single wall, I saw pictures of Swami. But it wasn't at my eye level. It was at a high, close to the ceiling level, all the way around. Then I looked down to the left-hand side of the wall, and below was a throne, a red throne, And on that throne, Swami was seated there. And I approach him. I don't recollect seeing his face, but I saw his feet. And I saw his feet, and I tried to bend down to get Pada Namaskar. And what he does is he picks up his feet and shows the bottom of his feet to me. I was seated next to his feet, and I pick up his feet and I see the bottom. It had swollen little bumps at the bottom of his feet. I felt very sad that he had this swollen feet at the bottom. And I looked at the other one. He showed me the other one, and the other one also had these little bumps. And that portion of the dream ends there. And then I come out of the building, and then I look to the back of the land. There is this another building. But this building is a little bit more, not as elaborate, not as majestic. It was just like a large dining hall area or nursing home, or, flat roofed, just a large building. And I go and peek through the door, and then somehow I'm inside the building, and I walk around. And on one side, there's a small picture of Swami. And on the other side, there's like dining space and things like that. And that's a really, really large hall, much bigger than the hall that I saw in the first building. And then my dream ends, and I wake up. And of course, whenever we get a dream, we like to analyze what happened. Oh my goodness, I had a dream of Swami, right? We get so excited. And then I thought about the dream and his swollen feet. And I thought, two things. One, oh my goodness, Swami, you're receiving my Abhishekam. I'm doing Abhishekam to you in my mind, and you're receiving it. But the second thing is, I'm not doing a good job of it. I'm not wiping the bottom of your feet. It must have milk residues that I wasn't wiping away, and it has just these fallen parts in it. And I said, Swami, I'm so sorry you have that. I'll clean it up. And from then onwards, my Abhishekam in my mind continues. Until this day, it does continue. I would wash his feet, put milk, then I would wipe his feet, but I would wipe the bottom of his feet. Swami and I have this really childlike relationship. So when I wipe one of the bottom of his feet, and his foot is clean, I need to put it somewhere to clean the other one. So I'm like looking at Swami, just hold on to your feet up a little, will you please? And then I'll wipe the other feet, and then I'll just change the footstool to a nice soft cushioned footstool, and I'll place both his feet, and I will continue with my puja for that feet. And so that's how he has demonstrated to me that he listens to our prayers. He knows our thoughts. Many times he's proven to me that he knows our thoughts. So yeah, he certainly is listening to our prayers.
Yes, he does. And that is so very, very sweet and so perfect, the relationship between the two of you. And he clearly, obviously, sees everything in your meditation and how you worship him. And it's just so beautiful. And it takes a sense of very strong faith. And Swami has said that faith leads to surrender. And faith is the foundation of the structure of our spirituality, with surrender at the top of the structure. And so with all that faith and working on surrender and going through life, there's a particular phrase I wanted to ask you about, and that is the term or phrase that we sometimes use where we say, surrendering the outcome. What does surrendering the outcome mean to you?
Surrendering the outcome is when you're doing your act, you're not attached to the end results, but you're doing the act for the sake of doing the act. And and I started looking for something in my own interpretation, flow versus resistance. When you're doing something and there's flow to it, I feel like that's the path Swami wants me to take. And if there is resistance to it, Swami wants me to change the direction or explore and figure out how else I can do this task so that there's flow to it. But that barrier or the resistance in the flow is the journey. The end product is not in our hands because he has already decided what that end product is. And I want to continue, actually. There is a good experience that I had that I would like to share, which reinforces the fact that the fruits are not in our hands. It's already done, right? So during the time I had the dream about the Abhishekam, That was the time our center, Sathya Sai Center of Fairfax and Sathya Sai Center of Loudon, two centers close to each other, wanted to combine and celebrate Akhanda Bhajan together in our area and also do Swami's birthday together. This is the first time we would have been actively collaborating together to have a joint activity. And so officers of both the centers got together. And one of the most challenging tasks at that particular year was finding a venue for both Akhanda Bhajan and Swami's birthday. Akhanda Bhajan had many restrictions in terms of the venue we wanted. We wanted to make sure it had a kitchenette. We wanted to make sure it had an altar large enough to accommodate both the centers. We would have gone through every single school buildings in terms of the large space, either their cafeteria or a gym in Fairfax and Loudon. But somehow none of those had worked out. And then all of it, one day, one of the Loudon team said to us, we actually found a location, for both Akhanda Bhajan and birthday. Would these work out? And we went and looked at it and we said, you know what, we can work with this. And we went with those two venues. The Akhanda Bhajan venue, when you walk into it, it was a community center with a swimming pool at the back. But it was a large, beautiful building. When you walk in and when you look ahead, it was an open space. And when you look further to the front of you, there was this spiral staircase that's going to the top. And at the top, on either sides were like two balconies facing down into the hall to kind of give little extra space. But for Akhanda Bhajan, that space was not very useful for seating because one of the balcony would be above the altar and the other balcony would mean people actually have to go past the spiral staircase, which is actually disruptive for the rest of the devotees. So we decided to put altars at the top of both of the balcony, where we put a large picture of Swami at the top on one side. We put Sarvadharma symbols all the way around on the banisters. And then below, we put Swami's altar, beautiful altar with the throne, and we would sit down, and then we had the bhajan. Bhajan just went really, really well. The collaboration, the energy, it was just such a mesmerizing experience. Very grateful to Swami for that experience. The following week was Swami's birthday. Swami's birthday venue was also in Loudon, very close to the Akhanda Bhajan venue. And it was a large hall. It was actually a nursing home, elders' home. And they had given us that particular hall for us to use. It was a 4-hour program. It went on very well, very well together. I mean, Swami's grace, everything went very, very well. And all of us were just on high in terms of the energy Swami had given us. So 2-3 days later, the energy is still there. And that's when it dawned on me. It did not dawn on me before that. It dawned on me, wait, those two venues are the venues in my dream that I had in August. The venues were almost to the point of Swami had told me, I know that those two buildings are going to be close to each other in the same county, same location, somewhat close to each other. He even went in my dream as to how it's going to be decorated. If you remember the Akhanda Bhajan, we had found that balcony and we had decorated with Swami's picture all the way around close to the ceiling. But when we were doing that, none of that crossed any of our officers' mind, because after the first dream that I had shared that with the officers. It did not occur to us. So yeah, Swami absolutely knows what the outcome should be. We are not aware of it. And I think there's a good reason why he didn't make me realize earlier on, because this realization would not have happened until the whole process finished. And I reflected back and said, you know what? He knows how the outcome should be, what the outcome should be. We are just going through the journey for our own transformation. He gives us challenges, blocks along the way, and we are maneuvering ourselves through it. But the maneuvering is what transforms us. So it's a beautiful lesson that Swami has imprinted in me. And then, in Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 9, Swami, we started this session with Mahabharata, right? And in there is this section called doing the done, doing what's already done. right? So it said, so long as Arjuna believed that he was the doer and the enjoyer of the reward for the deed, he was miserable. But when the Lord taught him and demonstrated to him that he was but an instrument, that his duty was only to surrender to the will of the Lord, that those whom he sought to destroy had already been destroyed by the Lord, he was freed from grief. He was filled with unspeakable peace. So essentially, Swami, the path that's taken to overcome the perceived challenges and the act of doing is really the transformation, because we are just doing what's already done.
Indeed. And speaking of transformation, there is work that we have to do, and that is our sadhana. With you engaged in a lot of different things, of all the different forms of sadhana that you practice, what is your favorite and you feel works best for you?
I think the concept of faith and surrender is growing and growing. But the sadhana that I really need to be working on is namasmarana. That first study circle was about namasmarana, but the journey still continues. I remember Swami, even at work, I started remembering Swami now, but it's not continuous. And I would like to get to a point where I'm constantly thinking of Swami, and that's going to be a journey that Swami has to bless me with. But that's for all of us, right? There's this thing of the 21st hammer stroke. Swami says in Prema Vahini, actually, in order to break a stone, you may have hammered it 20 times, but it did not break. But then the 21st hammer stroke breaks the stone. So does that mean we can say that the first 20 strokes was not useful? It's not the case. It was a cumulative effect of every single stroke. But it just so happens that on the 21st stroke, the stone broke. So just like that with namasmaranam or any sadhana that we take on, that 21st hammer stroke has to come, right? And Swami says, and in terms of namasmaranam, Swami says, whatever spiritual practice one may have, one must practice in uninterrupted remembrance of the name of the Lord. So that's what I wish to do, is to remember Swami at all times. And that 21st hammer stroke has to come.
Yes, it does. We all look for that one. In fact, the power of namasmarana is just so transformative. It's amazing. I think many of us have noticed it in our lives. There's a beautiful Baba quote where he says, "You need not have any doubt as to how a small name such as Rama, Krishna, or Sai can take you across the sea of samsara. Vast oceans have been crossed on tiny rafts, and the raft need not be as big as the ocean. Dark jungles have been crossed with the help of a tiny lamp, and the lamp need not be as big as the jungle. The recitation of the name is like the operation of boring in order to tap underground water. It is as the chisel stroke that will release the image of God imprisoned in hard marble. Once you break the encasement, the Lord will appear." So yes, we all wait for that 21st stroke and for him to appear. So with the idea of God appearing for us and being in our lives, you've got this very strong faith, and by now it must have changed the way that you look at life, the way that you deal with the ups and downs of daily life. How has it done that for you?
So, the internal spiritual growth that Swami actually wants us to experience is done in this external world. We are surrounded by role models around us. We are surrounded by scenarios that Swami gives us, to kind of raise ourselves to kind of come closer and closer to God. You know, because I teach chemistry, and chemistry is a lab science course, there is this classroom component where the theory is taught. And there is the lab component where you go and do the practicals and practice. So I've started connecting that to the everyday life, you know, study circles, Swami's literature, listening to talks. They're all theory. They're not my practices. They are theory, and they're going in and they are simmering inside. But then you go and practice it in our everyday life through either our family, work, side activities, whatever it is that we are doing. That world is where we start practicing what have we been absorbing in terms of theory. So yeah, our world is our playground where we go and practice. And, you know, like I mentioned earlier, we had about 10 years ago, from somebody who never thought of Swami at work to now, when I reflect back, you can see when you self-analyze and when you kind of introspect, you kind of realize that, you know, you've kind of grown a little bit. You're getting there. It's just, we just need to keep on working until we kind of become that perfect devotee that Swami is looking out for. But the journey is just as powerful. So I remember many times at work that I would think of Swami in the middle of class or before class. Swami, I'm going to address this now. Please teach through me. Let me have a smiling face in front of the students so they feel welcome and warmth, and they feel the love that's radiating from you, which is inside me, to them. And all of those things, that kind of connections will start forming. And this, you know, this one time, there's this truly dedicated student showed up for exam a little bit late. And, you know, when those students come late, they are flustered, they've been running, they're just sweating. And then how can they sit and do an exam and when it's timed and their hands shaking? So I remember, you know, stepping outside and saying, I was like, calm down. It's okay. It's okay. You still have enough time to get it done. Just take a deep breath. 2 breaths, breathing in and out with him. And it's like, okay, go in, take a seat. You have enough time to finish it. And you can see their face relaxing and just calming down, this sense of gratitude. That's all because of Swami. That child needed to hear that kind words. Those kind words came out of me because Swami willed it. And it's the little training that he does on us so that we can act the way Swami wants us to act, be his messengers, be his instruments. So that's how Swami has been kind of changing me, you know. He's always guiding me, but even from the beginning, he was always being with me. But the journey is more powerful when we are in tune with him and have the awareness that he's with us. So yeah, he's always protecting us and he's always around us and guiding us. We just need to open our eyes and see it.
Yes. Okay, now let's talk about meditation and how you see it as being useful in your spiritual work. Can you elaborate a little bit more about meditation?
I believe meditation is absolutely important. But do I know how to do it? No, I'm getting there. I've been struggling with meditation. I would usually, before my dream of doing Abhishekam for Swami, I would have this mental conversation with Swami. I'm like, I know I'm supposed to sit. I know I'm supposed to do silent sitting, but I sit and my mind is everywhere. And then I would tell him, tell me something. And he'll guide me to think of something, to solve a problem or something. And I would say, thank you, Swami. Tata for now. I'll go and act on the thought that you had given me. But there was no silence in it and there was no sitting in it. It was just restless mind. And then after that, Abhishekam, at least I'm sitting, but my mind is still busy. It's still visualizing. So I'm hoping one day it will get to a point that I will feel that silence. And again, coming back to the 21st hammer stroke, right? I really, I understand the power of meditation from Swami's words, being in the study circle and revisiting all of those, the value that comes out of it. But Swami has to kind of work with me a little bit more for me to kind of really enjoy the peace that comes with genuine silence. And it does start with concentration. And this particular quote by Swami is talking about meditation. And he's saying, Suppose you sit for meditation. You close your eyes. However, the mind goes on wandering everywhere. You try to bring it back to the starting point. It is all practice. It is only when wavering mind is stilled that meditation is possible. This process of making the mind steady is called concentration. Meditation is possible only after concentration. The proper order is concentration, contemplation, and meditation. So I think I have concentration and contemplation somewhat in there, in not any particular order, because I do a lot of introspection and conversations with Swami in my mind. But the meditation part will come. Have faith.
Have faith, indeed. In fact, meditating or keeping our focus on God during challenging times allows us to stay within the sphere of God or divinity. And there's a very nice story that Baba tells us that describes this. He said that people used to use grindstones to make flour. It would consist of two round stones. The one at the bottom would be stationary, and the one at the top would rotate. And if we place some grains between the stones, they would get crushed into powder. And the grains keep getting scattered and crushed between the stones as they go around. But the few grains that remain at the very center of the stones remain safe and do not get crushed. That safe place can be compared to being within the sphere of God, with one's focus on God. And all living beings that exist close to God will be free from all danger. So therefore, in all our actions, we should try to manifest positivity, purity, and divinity. And thereby, through our deeds, we will see the divinity that's concealed within us. So now, just before we wrap up today, what thoughts would you like to leave us with for today?
I think I would like to revisit and emphasize the importance, at least for me, the importance of reading Swami's literature, participating in study circle, and carving out time for introspection, self-analysis, and to have internal dialogue with Swami. You know, we have this invisible string that we started with that's directing us. We have to have faith in it. Having an open mind and eagerness will actually connect us to Swami a little stronger. And that invisible string that we are talking about will not be invisible anymore. We will be able to see it. Swami says, I'm always with you. All of you belong to me. Whenever you contemplate upon me in your heart, I will manifest before you. Sadena.
Jai Sai Ram.